The hidden reality. Same-sex attraction in America's most conservative community. In a world where LGBTQ+ rights have become mainstream conversation, there exists a community where such discussions remain deeply underground. The Amish, known for their rejection of modern society and strict adherence to traditional values, face a complex reality that few outsiders understand. What happens when someone born into this insular world experiences same-sex attraction? The answer reveals a profound struggle between personal identity and community belonging that most of us can barely imagine. The impossible choice. Picture yourself facing the most devastating decision of your life. Embrace who you truly are and lose everything you've ever known, or suppress your deepest feelings to maintain your place in the only world that makes sense to you. This is the reality for Amish individuals who experience same-sex attraction. One young Amish man, working with a psychologist who specializes in Amish communities, captured this dilemma perfectly when he said, "It would be wonderful to be in a same-sex relationship, but I would give up so much." These words reveal the heart-wrenching calculation that some Amish people must make. Weighing personal happiness against losing their entire support system, their identity, and their understanding of eternal salvation. The so much he referenced isn't just family relationships or community connections. It's losing access to a fiscal safety net that provides security from cradle to grave. It's walking away from an identity as part of God's chosen people, with a clear understanding of right and wrong that has guided every decision since childhood. It's abandoning the promise of eternal life in heaven for what they've been taught are worldly values that lead to spiritual destruction. Most choose to remain, not because they've overcome their feelings, but because the alternative seems to cost everything that gives their life meaning and structure. The underground reality. While you won't find openly gay members in good standing within any Amish church, this doesn't mean same-sex attraction doesn't exist in these communities. Like any population of significant size, the Amish certainly have individuals born with same-sex feelings. The difference lies in how these feelings are handled and discussed. What emerges is essentially a "don't ask, don't tell" environment where people with same-sex inclinations keep their desires completely hidden. Some privately acknowledge these feelings to themselves, but never act on them or discuss them with others. Others may quietly seek out like-minded individuals within their community, creating secret networks of support and understanding. The silence surrounding this issue is so complete that many Amish people aren't even familiar with terms like gay or lesbian. Their limited exposure to mass media means that public discourse about sexual orientation simply doesn't reach many community members. Those who do learn about these concepts typically encounter them through local newspapers rather than television or internet sources. This creates a strange situation where people may experience these feelings without having language to describe them, or understanding that others share similar experiences. The isolation can be profound, with individuals believing they're uniquely struggling with something that has no name or explanation. When secrets surface. The Amish approach to homosexual behavior that becomes public knowledge follows their standard pattern for handling sin within the community. When same-sex activity is discovered, it must be confessed publicly before the entire congregation. This isn't a private conversation with church leadership, but a humiliating admission made in front of everyone you've known your entire life. Interestingly, most of these public confessions come from men rather than women, possibly because women can conduct relationships more discreetly, or because male same-sex behavior is more likely to be discovered and reported. The confession process itself becomes another layer of trauma for individuals already struggling with their identity and place in the community. After confession, the person faces two stark choices: accept whatever church discipline is imposed and attempt to return to good standing, or refuse to confess and face eventual excommunication. There's no middle ground, no counseling services, no support groups, just a binary choice between submission and exile. Those who confess and accept discipline may return to their previous status in the community, but the experience leaves lasting scars. They must continue suppressing their natural inclinations while living among people who witness their public shame. Those who refuse to confess face complete social isolation from everyone they've ever known. The married life dilemma. Perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect of this situation involves Amish individuals who marry despite their same-sex attractions. Some enter marriage hoping it will cure or change their orientation. Others marry simply to meet social expectations and avoid suspicion about their true feelings. These marriages create complex emotional situations for everyone involved. The person with same-sex attractions may feel dissatisfied and unhappy, but continues in the marriage, sacrificing personal fulfillment to meet church and community expectations. Their spouse, often unaware of the situation, may sense something is wrong but lack understanding of the real issue. An anonymous essay published in the Amish publication Family Life addressed this situation directly, advising people not to enter marriage just to be socially acceptable. The writer warned that such marriages would hardly bring happiness and would be unfair to both partners. Yet social pressure within Amish communities makes remaining single suspicious and difficult, creating a trap where marriage seems like the only acceptable option. The essay acknowledged that while some people might change their sexual orientation through divine intervention, others cannot or will not change, and these individuals should accept remaining single as God's will for their lives. This represents one of the few public acknowledgments within Amish literature that sexual orientation might be unchangeable for some people. Religious and practical foundations. The Amish opposition to homosexuality stems from multiple sources, creating a comprehensive framework that makes acceptance nearly impossible. Their literal interpretation of biblical texts, particularly Old Testament passages condemning homosexual behavior, forms the primary religious foundation for their position. As a conservative Christian community, their stance isn't surprising when viewed within the broader context of traditional religious teachings. They approach homosexuality as they would any other behavior they consider sinful, with love for the person but complete rejection of the actions. Beyond religious reasons, there are practical considerations that reinforce their position. Same-sex relationships have the potential to disrupt the strict hierarchy that governs Amish society. Their culture depends on clearly defined roles and expectations, and relationships that don't fit these patterns threaten the social order that keeps their communities functioning. Additionally, the Amish view sexual activity as primarily intended for procreation rather than pleasure or emotional connection. Same-sex relationships, by definition, cannot produce children, making them fundamentally incompatible with Amish understanding of sexuality's proper purpose. In communities where large families are essential for economic survival and cultural continuity, non-reproductive relationships seem counterproductive to community goals. The absence of support systems. What makes the situation particularly difficult for Amish individuals with same-sex attractions is the complete absence of support systems that exist in mainstream society. There are no LGBTQ+ organizations, no counseling services, no support groups, and no visible role models who have successfully navigated similar challenges. The anonymous essay in Family Life noted that Amish society keeps these people hidden, pretending the problem doesn't exist and offering no help. This institutional denial means that individuals struggling with their sexual orientation face their challenges in complete isolation, without guidance, resources, or even acknowledgement that their experiences are real and valid. Some may seek counseling to help them claim a heterosexual identity, but these services are limited and often focus on suppression rather than acceptance or healthy coping strategies. The goal is typically to eliminate same-sex feelings rather than help individuals find ways to live authentically within their community constraints. The rare departures. While most Amish individuals with same-sex attractions choose to remain in their communities despite the personal cost, some do make the difficult decision to leave. These departures are relatively rare, partly because leaving Amish society is extraordinarily difficult under any circumstances, and partly because many people find ways to cope within the system rather than abandon everything they've known. Those who do leave face enormous challenges beyond their sexual orientation. They must learn to navigate a world they've been taught to avoid, often without basic skills like driving cars, using computers, or understanding modern social norms. They lose their support network, their economic security, and their spiritual framework all at once. If they've already been baptized into the Amish church, Leaving becomes even more complicated because baptism represents a formal commitment that, when broken, results in shunning by family and friends. This means that individuals who leave to live openly, gay lives may never again have meaningful contact with their parents, siblings, or childhood friends. The psychological impact of such complete social isolation can be devastating, leading some to question whether the freedom to express their sexual orientation is worth the total loss of their cultural identity and family connections. A community's perspective. From the Amish viewpoint, their approach to homosexuality reflects their broader commitment to biblical teachings and community standards. They don't see themselves as cruel or discriminatory, but as faithful to divine commands that they believe apply to all aspects of human behavior. Their response to same-sex attraction follows the same pattern they use for other behaviors they consider sinful: adultery, premarital sex, divorce, or other violations of their moral code. The goal is always restoration and redemption rather than punishment, though the process can feel punitive to those experiencing it. Many Amish people genuinely believe they're helping individuals with same-sex attractions by encouraging them to resist these feelings and conform to heterosexual expectations. From their perspective, they're offering salvation from sin rather than imposing oppression. This creates a situation where both sides, those with same-sex attractions and the broader community, may have good intentions but completely different understandings of what constitutes help, healing, and human flourishing. The continuing struggle. This issue represents one of the most challenging aspects of Amish life in the modern world. As mainstream society becomes increasingly accepting of diverse sexual orientations, the gap between Amish values and surrounding culture continues to widen. For individuals caught between these worlds, the struggle intensifies as they become more aware of alternatives that exist beyond their community boundaries. Social media, despite Amish restrictions, sometimes penetrates their world, showing them possibilities for authentic self-expression that seem both appealing and terrifying. The situation reveals the complex relationship between individual identity and community belonging, between personal happiness and cultural preservation, between religious conviction and human compassion. There are no easy answers, no simple solutions, and no outcomes that satisfy everyone involved. What emerges is a deeply human story of people trying to reconcile irreconcilable differences between who they are and who their community needs them to be, between their understanding of divine will and their experience of human nature, between their desire for authenticity and their need for belonging. This ongoing tension continues to shape lives, families, and communities in ways that most of us will never fully understand, but that deserve our thoughtful consideration and compassion.